this is not putting the customer not at the center. Because I think if he gets good product and a very efficiently handled product, then he's really happy. So it's helping. But it expresses a little bit that I see technology, including digitalization, as a tool and not as a goal. And I think this is also, we always have to see it is a tool. And we have to watch out. There is a lot of consultants out there and IT experts. For a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So sometimes it's overdone. So, cost-effective handling, concluding insurance contracts. I think this is where digitalization can help a huge amount compared to the old paper application formats, and then back and forth and back and forth, and then a lot of paper. So if we do that correctly, that helps a lot. And efficiency, we have to find the right measure. This slide I use quite often. It shows the cost ratio in MTPL in different countries in percentage. I didn't put down Romania. I didn't have, when I prepared it, I didn't have the figures 2017, and 2016 was so much higher than 2017 from the cost ratio. So today you would have from the percentage somewhere around Estonia, maybe even a little bit cheaper for Romania. Now here you would say, wow, look how efficient Germany is, US is okay, Estonia is okay, Ukraine is terrible. If you calculate it in absolute terms, that looks totally different. Yeah? A Ukrainian insurance company, including agency fees, can conclude a MTPL contract for €10. So, and here you can also see US, it's very inefficient. You need 150 or more euro. That's why in the US, direct insurers are so successful, because the agencies there are so insufficient that they need 150 euro per car just to conclude an annual insurance contract for motor third-party liability. So it's not that you can see US is, oh, they're ahead. They do everything really well and efficient. And the further you go east, the worse it gets. No, it's not necessarily that way. Also at this point in time, I want to stress something, because there is an institution which is always hit on in the whole thing. We don't need them anymore. We do it online. This is the intermediaries. They get hit by GDPR, they get hit by IDD. Without good intermediaries, insurance industry doesn't work. So everybody here and everybody else, you need good intermediaries. It doesn't mean all intermediaries are good, but there is good ones out there. And I think this is the biggest asset of any insurance company, having own or contractually bound sales forces or the trust of brokers. So cost-effective handling means less administration, especially for the client, with a fair remuneration for necessary services, especially for the agent. Simplified handling, standardization of processes across the industry. I put a question mark behind it because you have the antitrust office on your back if you're trying to do that. We have in Germany a movement called BPRO, which is a non-profit making organization to try to standardize the processes. Because otherwise, you know, you can digitalize as you want. If every insurer and every broker organization has different ideas about how things should look, it's very difficult to really put it into efficiency. And here you come into problems with regulation again. So I think here it has to be the right features there. Also for blockchain, one thing is necessary: standardization. Otherwise, you cannot use it. By the way, was mentioned before, blockchain, it's probably less usable than anybody thinks. I love this article. It's from the World Economic Forum. It says 11 questions which will help you decide if blockchain is right for your business. This is one of the nicest articles on that one I've ever seen. And last, what means efficient is how individual can the pricing be? Because if you use 20, 30 tariffication criteria, that information has to come from somewhere. And it has to be transparent where it comes from, and it has to be accepted. There's this thing which is not a myth, it really happened. They found out that persons buying at Victoria's Secret are better drivers. Okay, because they're women. Right? They're better drivers. But you're not allowed to use it, because indirectly, if you say make Victoria's Secret buyers a special criteria, doesn't mean you find the right persons. You just found the women, and you're not allowed to discriminate the men there. So it's the question: is it accepted? Is it transparent enough to do so? And again, efficient enough? Is it really efficient? And if you go into digitalization with a lot of data efficiently, is it fair? Is it the right price? I always use this example. This is German tariff, and I just took it to the extreme, the most, let's say, extreme on the one side, extreme on the other side, tariffication criteria. And what comes out is an annual premium for rich com of 36 euro a year, and for IOU or hit a curb, 3,600 euro a year. I found nobody so far who thought this is fair. Anybody here finds it fair? Or is that too extreme? Hundredfold for solidarity of a mandatory insurance. In UK, it's up to 300-fold. A young guy with an accident easily pays £15,000 insurance premium per year. Is that fair? Yes, you think it's fair? Okay. Hope you have a son? Okay. If you had two sons, you would talk different. And I think this is also what we always have to look for digitalization. If we use in this product management criteria, that those criteria are deemed as fair. There was a very interesting study. They did a deep analysis interview with people. What tariffication criteria people think are fair to use, are not fair to use. Here, big red means unfair, and this is gender. And if you only drive on certain weekdays, or if you have a home, then this is seen as unfair. And the most fair is bonus-malus systems, how many points, and if you went over the speed, if you lost your driver's license too fast, how much you drive a year. This is seen as fair. And you can see those criteria, which are very subjective, like gender, you cannot change it that easily at least. This is something people find unfair. And other things are not even on there anymore, like ethnic background. It's not so long ago that in some countries what we used. In Germany we still have it indirectly. If a young Turkish gentleman comes 20 years to an agency and says, I want to get a motor insurance, maybe sit down, we will be with you in 4 hours. So, of course they have to sell them, but so I think this is, we have to take this human factor, especially within the digitalization process. What is seen as fair? If we see something as unfair, we're going to get some regulation being against it. Here it could be GDPR, it could be transparency, whatever. Internet of Things. Using sensors and other mechanisms to minimize the risk. Now, if telematics would be the most prominent example, car telematics, you measure how somebody drives and the premium is done there. I wanted to take a different example, bursting water pipes. Bursting water pipes is by far the biggest risk we have in property insurance. This is Germany for the last, until the last 15 years, and this is just 2017, we have had, so just take 1 year, 5.2 billion claims payments for private property insurance, and 53% of that is bursting water pipes. About 22 is storm and hail, fire and lightning and things like that are about 28%, and then you have other elementary losses and theft, etc., 3%. So it is, the big peril is water pipe bursting. Now if you go into the internet and say, what is going on there? Well, first some data. How much it is. Now this is the fire peril since 1981. And here you see it's 0.14 per mil you need as loss costs, which means it is 14 cents per €1,000 sum insured you need to cover losses. So assume you have a €10,000 apartment contents insurance here. The loss costs, if it would be in Germany, is an average €1.40 per year. So very low. And over the years, it has dropped to about 10 cents per thousand. Yeah, and here you can see this, the delta is, by the way, lightning, and this is other fire damages. So fire is getting so unimportant. That's almost like a minor peril. And due to modern fire protection, it gets less and less and less. And in here, from the numbers, not from the volume, not from the severity, but from the frequency, what is the biggest peril? It's about 50% of the losses. People fell asleep smoking a cigarette. It's 50% of the frequency. So out of that, you can only say, forbid smoking when you're tired. You have to have a laser glasses on that your eyes are open when you have a cigarette lit. There could be a sensor for that. And this is the same graph for bursting water pipes. So you can see it started at 20 cents per thousand, and now it's up to 30 cents per thousand. So it's double. It was a double. It was a little bit more than fire, and now it's triple of the fire risk. And if you go on the internet, you will find millions of devices of how to manage the problem. But there is very, very little systematic activity of using the information from the sensors in the insurance industry. Just, I was saying nothing, and then 2 weeks ago, there was an announcement, Allianz will work with one of the giants together in developing systems of monitoring those sensor systems. So suddenly, yeah, I was really looking for something, never found something, but there it goes. So it's something where you can really, really make a lot of effort. Now, what does it have to do with digitalization? Technology, yes, but digitalization, absolutely. Because if you have those data available and you can use them, get them on a mobile or in whatever way, access them, use them for tariffication, that is something where you can really make the difference. And I guess if a client is very happy when his household insurance premium drops by 30%, or, and this is the case in Germany, if you had 1 or 2 of those leakages, you will not get insurance anymore. There is many, many more houses who don't get insurance because of water pipe bursting than because of flood. It is just one of those perils. Once you have 1 leak or 2 leaks, the probability of having a 3rd or 4th is there. So of course it's like insuring a house where a fire has not been fully put out. So here in areas like this, I see a huge potential if somebody is doing the right thing at the right time to really put the digitalization process at work for the client relationship for a very, very inefficient premium and a good result. What it also shows is that many of those things I would call gimmicks, like short-term. Oh, you can insure your house for a day, 2 days, and then 1 day no. And what? Why? Why would I not insure my house on every day? And if I can insure it 1 day only, and then I forget to insure it the next day when, let's say, my kids are there. So there is a lot of playing games around it without working on the technical details. I think one of my former bosses says insurance is something about details and numbers. So if you don't like details and don't like numbers, go somewhere else. Don't work for insurance. And I think this is a bit of that. From driver assist to automated driving. That's another area, automated driving, which is hugely, hugely used as an example. And I will show you a study we just did in Germany a couple of months ago on a very realistic picture of what it actually means for the loss cost. So how much will it really go down due to different driver assist systems? Now, first of all, the fully automated driving everywhere is and probably will be a myth. We will have other transportation systems, probably, sooner or later, but not with our normal cars, especially if a car automated car meets a non-automated driver who is a little bit emotional and who does things which are not predictable. And to see how difficult things are on normal highways, you may want to look at the California Department of Motor Vehicles website. You find every vehicle that has ever driven without a automatic, and how often, how many miles, where, and how many interventions. This is for one car within a 10,000 mile distance driven, the number of interventions. Here. And it very often is a precautionary takeover. Okay, so it may have gone well. Nobody knows for sure. Other road user behaving poorly. This is the biggest answer. Other user behaving poorly, because you don't know why this guy is speeding up, but he just put the light out to the left. So something which is contradictory. You don't know why he does it. So then the automated driver says, sorry, I'm not going to do this. I don't know why this guy did this. Please take over. So if you have this often a takeover, is that really something where you want to get rid of the steering wheel? The question is where we are on that. And here, I would say we're beyond the peak. Our expectations, in many cases, you already have to motivate, say, hey guys, it's not that bad. It's really working. And there are certain systems which are working. So let's go to the study from GDV, from German Association. They try to estimate the loss cost per vehicle impact due to automatic driving systems until the year 2035. So they took a almost 20-year view. They went into the most common systems, which is the assistant for braking, parking assistant, but not making a beep beep beep, but really the self-parking system. To leave it, to stay within the lane, also lane. Auto highway pilot, city. This is fully automated driving, and for trucks, platooning. So they used those criteria, and then said, how many years will it take until it penetrates the active fleets? And they used ESP and airbags as a benchmark on how long it takes. And they said there is a fast penetration and a slow penetration. So you can see in the fast penetration, within 10 years, you already have 35% of the vehicles that have that system. In the slow penetration, it's only about 10%. And you have to see, if you come to in Romania, you have to add at least another 10 years, because you will buy, the people here will buy many high-value used cars, which means it will take much longer until this penetration comes in. So this is the first slowdowner. I mean, if there's robo-cars or something, if that really happens, it would be a different story. And then you have the impact on the different systems, including the extra repair costs, because sensors cost more. So then you get the picture of reduced loss costs. And you can see this is for liability, and it's 50% is parking, automated parking, the little parking gangs. This is, you get rid of these. And it is the emergency braking assistant, so you don't hit anybody. This red piece also has a huge amount from the severity. Many severe accidents will be avoided. So here the frequency doesn't change that much. It is especially the severity losses that get diminished. Everything else is very little. So in the this is the fast one. So if we're really optimistic, those two systems is 20%, and overall it's 25% reduced loss costs. I mean, this is a lot of money, but it's not a revolution. It's not a position where people cannot adjust to it. And this is the same for Casco. And here you can see it's much less even, and it's almost fully confined to a parking assistant, to automated parking, which is also logic. If you look where you ever had a small accident, your wife, your son, your daughter, your mother, your father, it is, by trying to park, you hit a tree, you hit a garbage can, you hit another car, and these little dents. These are the things that happen, and which will be avoided. There's the methodology, so they also use what is expectable usage, how many malfunctioning, what is the factor of relevance during the drive. So not every time you park you use the park assistant. So just to have that all in there. So the study is in German but well readable, and there is a version which you can use even for Google Translate, which works pretty well now. And so you find it on the GDV homepage. So here I think digitalization has a huge potential of changing the world gradually. And here it's important to have the right selection mechanisms in the pricing, as well as the right selection mechanisms in how to use those data. Because how often the emergency braking assistant kicks in is also a sign how often did somebody not pay attention. There was, I think it came from Holland, a suggestion to use how often this braking assistant's alarmed for older people when they should go for a test. That they use this frequency more or less as an indicator of driving behavior. So we have to look where it goes to. I'm certain there will be a lot of things which we will have to look at. And then we have all these legal constraints where they work against you mostly, and sometimes you could work at them for you. First question is, who owns the data? Michael Brandstetter this morning had it already, this initiative from the Insurance Europe, where each individual of you could sign up, the data belong to me, at least they don't belong to the automotive manufacturer, so that maybe we as an insurance industry are able to use them. So I can only motivate you to fill out this little form. It's very fast, it's a 5-minute thing. So go there, do that. And there has been in some countries agreements or almost reached. In Germany we have a pre-agreement with the Automobile Manufacturers Association that those data will be put on a neutral server, handled by a neutral party, and is given to the person the owner of the car has designated. So if they need it for insurance, it's for insurance. If they need it for repair, it's for repair. And also to repair shops. The biggest loser is not the insurance industry. If the automobile manufacturers keep their data, the biggest loser would be the independent workshops. Because the independent workshops would get no more orders. Because if your car tells you, please go to a BMW station, because there is sensor at XYZ, number 14, behaving at 52-17. I mean, you can only go to BMW because nobody else will, except the computer at BMW, will know what that means. And if it's a severe thing, that's already working, by the way, with Mercedes. They tried this. If you have something where you have to bring the car in the garage, there's a message, ding, bring the car in the garage, a rent-a-car is already waiting for you. We have it free of charge available for you once you arrive at this station. So more or less, it's a hijacking of the driver and the car by the manufacturers. Possible. So here we have to be smarter in using digitalization. Big data is also the question how to keep the computers from discriminating and doing wrong things. This Victoria's Secret example. How the hell do we know, if we leave it up to the computer, that it doesn't indirectly discriminate? There is examples. You ask for the first name. So if somebody's first name is Peter, he gets a better rate than a Piotr, and he gets a worse, and Piotr again gets a better rate than Pietro. So this is for sure a unliked indirect discrimination. But this is what the computer found out. When he did his mathematical correlation, this is exactly what he found out, and it's correct. So I think this will not be allowed to a big extent. It only is if it's transparent. And we have seen that in a conference in Prague, where the people also are getting not right the difference between correlation and causation. So there was a lady from the EU who said, but you cannot prove it causes an accident. Of course you cannot. It's a question of correlation. To lawyers, I always explain it with the storks. There is a strong correlation between the number of storks and the number of births in Germany. There is actually a very strong correlation. But a stork doesn't cause a pregnancy. At least, well, not for naive men. And then you have the big data and governance supervision. Here I have the feeling sometimes that there is so many companies out there making money on regtex and things like that by using so many data. So to have the meaning, oh, there is a data, let's report it. Somehow we have to report it, otherwise why should it be there? So to overcomplicate things because you can. I call that the Lego effect. It's, if you go asking an IT person to do the programming according to his will is like asking a 12-year-old in a Lego store if he still needs something. He will find all kinds of gimmicks and things in there. Yeah, and this is very similar. So we have to watch out that we don't use the massive data and possibilities to its border, that we stay realistic. And again, putting the customer in the center, this is really the point to see, does it help anybody? Who really has anything from this, except costs? I use this slide, it's from Warren Buffett. He was asked, how about digitalization in insurance? And he says, yeah, you're right, the early bird catches the worm. But in insurance, most things are cheese. And what he means with most things are cheese, the second mouse gets the cheese. Today, though, you have to watch out that you're not the third mouse. Because in some areas, we are so advanced, and here I'm personally surprised how far we got. Watch out, maybe you really have to grab the cheese already, but watch out also for the traps. So thank you.